Alright, women's cycling. Now some people don't like it, some people do like it. I don't really, I'm impartial to it. If people want to watch it, I'm going to make videos on it. For me myself, I do watch some of it, I don't watch others of it. It depends on the type of race, etc, etc. But I think the thing that really annoys me is when they have a decent race and then they just have no coverage. I mean, it's just like, come on, if you want people to watch it, if you want sponsors to get involved, you need TV coverage. And like, this is the race I wanted to do was the International Lotto Thuringen Ladies Tour 2.1. And I was just like, it's a sprint stage, like, come on, all you need to do is literally film the last 5 kilometers. Like, how much money can it be to literally film the last 5 kilometers of a race? All you need is one helicopter. You don't even need a helicopter. Okay, well, not a helicopter. You need a TV motor and a couple fixed stands, like cameras there. That's all you need. Okay, a helicopter's nice, but you don't need one. And it's just like, come on, how does no one have the foresight of the UCI who want to develop it to be like, you need to have, like, have either some money set aside to encourage people to have the TV rights. But like, or maybe the teams even, like, I mean, it might actually make sense for the teams to pay, like, I don't know how much it costs, let's say it's like £5,000, £10,000, might cost the teams could just pay that, and then they get more exposure for the whole race, and it will benefit them, and it will probably be worth it. Because you think about it, if you're like Canyon SRAM, and you've paid all this money to basically set up a women's team, and then no one can actually see you win, and then you're on YouTube and you type it in, and you can't see anyone, and you're like, well, what's the point? Like, okay, fine, if you look on the cycling news, you can see it, but like, come on, how many people watch cycling news? Like, people watch stuff on YouTube, and for me, it's just retarded on so many levels. I mean, it's a bit like lower level cycling as well, like continental level. The difference is then they have no money, but this is like the elite. This is like the highest women's cycling. Like, surely if you want it to develop, you have to have TV coverage, otherwise people just won't watch it. Well, they just won't even care about it because they can't watch it. Like, how many people now today like care about sports that you can't watch? It's just like, if you can't watch the sport, people literally just don't think it exists. I mean, you don't have to have big TV coverage, this is what I'm saying. For a sprint stage, I mean, let's be honest, most of it is pretty boring because it's like break goes, then you reel them back, then that's it. But for a sprint stage, you just need the last 5 kilometers. You can push it out to 10, but 5 kilometers really, I'm happy with that. Most of my commentaries when I do it, I just go from 5k out because that's when everyone starts to get ready, and then you have the sprint, and it's all good, and everyone watches it. You get to see who wins. When you're the sponsor, you get to see the people go on the podium. I mean, it's just like, it really does sometimes just boggle your mind how like stupid people are and how just like short-sighted some of the people are, like in the UCI or whatever, because they keep talking about how they want to make women's cycling more popular. It's like, well, it's pretty obvious. All you need to do is just get some TV cameras out and people watch it. Like, when you have Strada Bianca, I love that. I made a video on that, got like 3,000-4,000 views on it. It was good. Like, people actually like enjoyed watching that. But if you don't have any coverage, how am I supposed to do it? I mean, it's like, what was it, the Herald Sun Tour? Like, you streamed it on Facebook. That was great. And then I recorded that, made a little highlights video. It was all good. Like, that's good. But you don't need to have it necessarily on live TV. All you need to do is just post it on YouTube. Just post like 5 kilometers, last 5 kilometers of a race. Okay, if it's climbing, then maybe it's a bit more complicated. But even then, like, you know, just film the last little bit. Like, I mean, it can be done. Like, I know there are definitely races in the UK domestic scene which have less of a budget than these women's races, and they managed to film some of it or whatever. Or maybe even just make it like a little highlights package. I mean, I prefer, obviously, for me, if I can just get the whole thing and decide what the highlights are for myself. But it's still just... it just is really confusing. Like, if you think how much money people do spend on women's cycling, like, and to sponsor it, and the return they get is like, some races, Tour de Yorkshire, excellent. Another race like this, I mean, it's got all the big teams, really. Movistar, FDJ, Wiggle High 5, Team Sunweb, BTC City Ljubljana, Trek Drops, Canyon SRAM, Wiggle High 5, I'm not sure if I said them. I mean, it's got the FDJ, it's got all the big boys, the big girls, the WNT, Rota Pro Cycling. And I mean, you just have to think about it, like, well, how's it going to develop if no one wants to, like, invest in the TV infrastructure? I mean, there's a market, like, I know there's a market, because people tend to do, like, when I post women's cycling videos, they tend to do pretty well. But, I mean, if I can't get the footage, how am I supposed to post them? And I mean, it's the same with loads of people, like, I mean... some people are inherently sexist and they just don't want to watch women's cycling because they just think it's not as exciting, which is fine. But, like, for me, I think it is exciting. And, like, I don't know, maybe I don't follow as much, which I don't. But I still, like, enjoy watching some of the results and seeing it. And I think, really, if they want it to kick on, they just have to have TV coverage. And maybe that will be that the UCI has to fund that, and then they'll make their money back. I don't know. But at the moment, it's just ridiculous that you have this big 5-day tour and there's literally zero TV coverage on YouTube. I just can't find anything. I found like a 3-minute highlight clip from last year, and it's like, well, yeah, that's cool, but I want it this year. I just want to be able to show people like, oh, this is what happened. This is the race. These are the people who sponsored it. Like it'll be good, but instead it's just a cycling news page. It's just a pro cycling stats page with the results, the time, some poorly written article by someone who couldn't really care on cycling news, and that's what you're sort of left with. And it really doesn't like motivate people to watch women's cycling when it seems so marginalized and just no one really seems to care about it anymore. I mean, I feel like in Australia and the UK, the coverage seems to be all right. And in America, I think they had a live stream of the Winston-Salem Classic, so I might do a video on that instead. But in Europe, a lot of the places, there's just not coverage because they just don't think it matters, or they don't have the budget or whatever. And obviously, like, it's better to have an event with no coverage than have no events. But on some of these bigger ones, you really do have to question, like, why couldn't they just cover a tiny amount of it? Like, you don't have to do the whole thing. I don't really know what the future is of women's cycling if they can't seem to sort out some of the basics. It's definitely getting better. I mean, obviously there's no minimum wage, which is pretty bad. But I mean, they're not going to get a minimum wage unless more people watch it. There's more money due to sponsors. And the only way that's ever going to happen, really, is if they get some TV coverage and people start getting interested in it, and there's a story and there's a dynamic and people are like, wow, these people are fast, like, it's good, it's exciting racing. Like, let's be honest, it doesn't really matter the quality of racing, really, as long as they're fast enough and it's exciting. Like, that's what people care about. In the World Championships, people like watching women's racing, under 23 racing, because it's often far more exciting and less controlled than the men's racing, especially elite men's, because often there's so many strong teams and there's so much like coordination between the teams, and there's just nowhere near as punchy as exciting in women's racing. Women's racing really is just like, they just fucking hammer it, and it's good. It's good watching it. And the Spring Classics, I think they got it right, mixing it with the men's race. But anyway, that's my little rant. I really hope they actually decide to get some coverage on some of these races so that I can actually commentate them, and show you what women's racing is. It's actually not that bad. I quite enjoy watching some of it. But yeah. What are your thoughts on women's cycling? Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Do you think it's just a poor version of the men's sport? Or do you think it's actually got some potential to grow? And if you think it has potential to grow, how do you think that's going to be unlocked? Because for me, it's TV footage. And without that, it's game over for women's cycling. Or it's just going to stay the same as sort of a marginalised sport, which not many people watch unless they're super keen. But anyway, cheers for watching. Hopefully I'll have a video up on women's cycling soon. Maybe the Winston-Salem Classic. But cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.